All right, welcome to today's show. So we're going to jump right in, talk about strategies, Q2 earnings that are coming out tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about a big buy that just took place with some strategy executives on the board. And also going to talk about the Fed report today that we all saw and dive in a little bit about the recent Stretch IPO that came out with strategy. So pardon the sound, I'm settling into a new location. And we'll have my mic hooked up in the next day or so. So with this said, not financial advice, not tax advice, not legal advice. Do your own research. And we're going to jump in and we're going to hear from Saylor right now first. And there's been a lot of inquiry from people around, what are these fixed instruments that he's doing? And he describes this in a very powerful way in this video. So I'm going to turn it over to Saylor so we can get a good understanding of exactly what he's thinking and why these Bitcoin-backed bonds that he's producing or Bitcoin-backed fixed income instruments that he's producing are the most powerful in the marketplace. So let's check it out. Here we go.
Or you buy it for 100. Oh, these are the best performing bonds in the world. All the MicroStrategy bonds have doubled in value. Okay, how many other bonds? There is no corporate bond. There's no sovereign bond. There's no other type of bond or no preferred stock you can buy where you buy it for 100, it'll be worth 220 a few months later, right? So these are the best performing bonds in the world. It's like they've got the downside protection and they make money. So those people have fixed income funds. They have $100 trillion in those things. They have to buy that. And then they need a company like MicroStrategy that has a 100% Bitcoin treasury to create that bond. You see, you can't create a bond that doubles in value over 8 weeks if you're not 100% Bitcoin. If Berkshire Hathaway sold the same bond and they were backed by $100 billion of T-bills, well, okay, it's zero coupon, it's convertible, but it's like, what's the point? The bond has no option value in it. The T-bills have a vol of 5 and MicroStrategy has a vol of 100, okay? So they've got no electricity in their bonds. So MicroStrategy is the leading issuer of Bitcoin-backed bonds in the world. And there's $300 trillion in the fixed income market that they can only buy bonds. But if you're going to buy bonds, wouldn't you like the lowest risk, highest performing bonds? MicroStrategy is the most interesting, highest performing, most liquid securities. Why? Because we're volatile, right? We got 100 volatility oscillator in the middle of the company. We oscillate at the bond volatility is 5. We're oscillating 20 times faster than treasury bills. We're oscillating 8 times harder than the S&P index. So we put this crypto reactor in the middle of the company. It makes the bonds very, very compelling. That allows the ARBs to do their thing, allows the fixed income guys to do their thing. But when we sell the bond, the spread for us is 70 to 80%, which means that 80% of the economics go immediately to our equity holders. And so the leverage in the bond for the Bitcoin maxis is extreme. We borrow $4.2 billion that's free and we buy Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin goes up 50% a year, that means the 4.2 is going to double in 14 months or 18 months. So you've got 4 to 8 to 16 to 32. So there's $32 billion worth of leverage on the back end. We're only going to pay back the $4 billion of bonds, but we pay the $4 billion of bonds with $1.5 billion worth of equity at the time that we actually issue the bond. So the financial leverage is extreme, and the people that get that are the equity holders. So in essence, MicroStrategy is like a big crypto transformer, a Bitcoin transformer, high voltage Bitcoin, scary high voltage Bitcoin comes in the front. And then on one side, we step it up to be extreme high voltage. That's how you outperform NVIDIA. You go, double Bitcoin or 1.5 Bitcoin. And then we give everybody low voltage Bitcoin, safe Bitcoin, low risk Bitcoin, low volatility Bitcoin on this side.
Right.
And the irony of it is everybody's getting exactly what they want. And the people that are buying our bonds or our equity, in some cases, they wouldn't buy the spot ETF. But in many cases, they couldn't. Not only would they not, people are like, well, why don't they? They can't, they won't, they don't wish to. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, I have a 480 volt 3-phase power on that dock. It'll power up a 500-ton yacht. You're not going to plug it into your blow dryer.
Right.
Has to go through it. If you go to the back of my property, I have a massive transformer, massive, to step down the power, right? There's a lot of value in giving people, what they can consume. And there's someone that makes a living converting that power into batteries and selling you a little battery pack so you can put it into your kids' toys. And you know what the markup is? It's like a factor of 1,000 markups. Like, the power would be much cheaper if you took it off the dock. I'm like, yeah, well, if I plugged my little kids' toys into the dock, I would electrocute my kid. And so what we're doing is we're not electrocuting the traditional market. The traditional market can't handle Bitcoin.
Right.
It doesn't want 60% a year interest that's volatile. It wants 6% a year interest. By the way, that's only 10% of Bitcoin. If I give them the 6%, I get to keep the other 90%. And who gets that? My equity holders get it.
Saylor, again, it's great to hear him talk. And if you just missed that video, go back and watch it, because he really explains what's happening with strategy and how they are literally taking over, portions of the fixed income market, and how, traditional bonds cannot compete with Strategy's Bitcoin backed bonds. So super powerful what he's doing. Again, let's dive into current events of what's going on right now. So, on the positive side, we've got Strategy acquiring 21,021 Bitcoin ahead of the Q2 earnings. So tomorrow, after hours, we will know the Q2 earnings report. We know it's all going to be positive in terms of their gains, and it's going to be an incredible report that they give, because their earnings are so high up in terms of their unrealized Bitcoin gains. And so that's a very, very positive thing. And then we also look at the recent buy that Strategy did with Stretch, which was the largest crypto IPO of 2025, and then buying 21,000 Bitcoin and raising capital through Stretch to buy the additional Bitcoin, which is huge. And it just shows Saylor's commitment to this fixed income marketplace and attracting these institutional investors and different kinds of investors that want the 10%, 9%, 12% rates of return. And he's pulling it in a tremendous amount of dough. And if you look at the previous ones that he did with Strike and Strife and Stride, this in particular with Stretch, initially we thought it was going to be a $500,000 offering, and it came out as a $2.5 billion offering. So I should say initially we thought it was going to be a $500 million offering, and it came out as a $2.5 billion offering, which is huge. So that's big news as well. Now, today was very lackluster, and I don't think anybody expected anything from the Fed report. If you watched it, I watched the whole thing, and Jerome, he got on there and he talked, and he said pretty much very little in the course of 30 minutes. He didn't say anything that was unexpected. I don't think very many people expected the Fed to cut rates, and they certainly did not cut rates. He got asked questions about whether he would be thinking about cutting rates in September. And of course, he's not going to answer that question with, yes, we're definitely cutting rates in September. He just gave kind of a no answer to that. So if you were watching Strategy at that time, I was trading it today. So as I was watching it in the trade, you could see it kind of hovering around a certain price point. And then as he started to go live and talk, people got more and more bearish. I don't know why, because maybe people were hopeful that there would be good news, and you just watch the stock just decline over the course of those 30 minutes. So that's what happened with the Fed communication today. Nothing that's much of a surprise. I know many people probably thought when Strategy announced the big buy of 2.5 billion that we would expect the stock to go up. It did not, as you see. And tomorrow is the Q2 earnings report, and we'll see what happens with that. My friend was just texting me that the MNAV for Strategy is now low. It's an all-time low of 1.51. But with that said, I'm still bullish for the next 5 or 6 months. I think the positive news when you look at Bitcoin, which is kind of the guiding light for Strategy, despite the news, Bitcoin dropped from 117. It was hovering between 117 and 118 today. Once the Fed came on, it dropped down as low as 115, and Strategy dropped with it. And then Bitcoin regained its position at 117. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. I'm not bullish or bearish, to answer your question, Brady, in terms of like what's going to happen tomorrow. I can't predict how the market's going to respond to their Q2 earnings. I would think that the market would be excited about it, but also anybody who's trading in this or investing in it would understand that this is already coming. This has been news that's been talked about for a while. So on the positive note of this, there is some board acquisition where the board of Strategy, there's just a report of them buying 22 million shares of Strategy stock below $400. So, and that just happened, that purchase happened today. So 5 or 6 members of the board went in, bought a whole bunch of shares of Strategy worth $22 million below a $400 price point. What could that mean? It could mean several things. It could mean, number one, they're super bullish about tomorrow's news and the price is going to go up. Who knows what will happen? It could also mean that, wow, the price is really low and they're ready to ride out a bull run over the next 4, 5, 6 months. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see where we continue to go. I'm still very bullish in the long term for this. And when I say long term, not a day or two, over the next 5 or 6 months of the bull run, which typically runs through November or December. There are talks from many people. I was watching a show the other day that some people think we will continue to go and Bitcoin will continue to rise into 2026. And if you watched my show the other day, you saw that there's reports from Citibank saying Bitcoin will hit 199,000 by the end of the year. Standard Chartered Bank, which has been coming out with this over the last couple months consistently, they think that Bitcoin will hit $200,000 by the end of the year. There's just different projections of what will happen. If you see the money supply, the M2, and you see how the money supply is moving, and you watch the graph, that indicates that Bitcoin could hit around $170,000 this year. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see where Strategy goes. I believe Strategy is going up over the next 5 or 6 months. I believe it's going to be a great ride. I'm excited about it, and so that's my report on the day. Also, in these situations, I trade on a daily basis, so I make about 10% a week trading. So whether Strategy goes up or down, I still capitalize and make money. And even today, it was a little bit like, wow, what's going to happen with the Fed? And the price dropped as soon as the Fed came on and started talking. And that's basically the story. But, if we zoom out and we look long-term at what Strategy is doing, $2.46 billion deployed from Stretch. They purchased Bitcoin at $117,000. And now their total Bitcoin holdings is now $628,791. Also, if you want to get access to my new AI trading and investing platform that's coming out, it'll be out in the next couple months. Initially, it was going to be more of an AI educational platform. We just added a trading component to it. You can opt in for free down below, and when it comes out, we will let you guys know about it. I designed this for the simple fact that I do trade on a daily basis, and what I discovered with trading is it's very complex. And for 99% of the population that wants to learn about money and wants to invest, trading platforms are typically unfriendly and not user friendly and not simple. And the terminology is above most people's understanding. So I've just developed a new platform that makes it super simple. Everything's done in the 5th grade, and it's not made for traders per se. It's made for 99% of the population who wants to make money, but is not interested in learning all the ins and outs of the verbiage and the nomenclature that go into trading, which can be super, super confusing. So I've taken all the terms and simplified it to 5th grade language to where a kid could get on and actually understand it. So it's going to be a trading simulator where if you trade with fake money, of course, people can use their accounts and trade with real money, not financial advice, not tax advice, but we're coming out with it, and it's in development now. And I'm working with this incredible development company that just sold their software company for big bucks. So they're going to make the design super simple because that's what they specialize in. So if you want to get access, you can just opt in down below. You'll get on the early access list, and it will notify you when it comes out. Okay, the link will be down below soon. All right, so back to this. So purchase price $170,000. Their Bitcoin holdings are $628,000. And so, you know, they're $46.8 billion in their treasury. You know, the valuation in terms of what they bought, the valuation of their treasury is even more, and the company valuation is, you know, $110 billion plus or so, approximately. So the aggregate purchase price, if you look at MicroStrategy, bought it at 46 bill, and their average cost basis is now 73,000. So that's what they bought Bitcoin at. But they're far ahead of their corporate competitors. If you look at Jack Mallers, he was just, I think, on CNBC the other day. He's talking about the company 21. They are continuing with aggressive Bitcoin buying as well. So the good news is we have a lot of players in the marketplace. We have a lot of corporate treasuries that are going to continue to buy Bitcoin. And despite all this news of, like, you know, things coming out about the Fed not doing much, despite, you know, a big whale selling 80,000 Bitcoin recently, Bitcoin hasn't really moved. It's been very stable. So despite all of this, with not a lot of great things recently happening besides the strategy buy, Bitcoin's still super stable, which is a good sign. So that's cool. If you watch my previous video, I did show you a chart that shows whether Bitcoin is overheating or not. And in case you missed that, I will just show it to you right now. This is a good chart by Bitcoin Magazine Pro that shows you whether Bitcoin is overheated or not. And so well, there was a good chart and then it disappeared on me. But let's try this again. Good. So here's the MVRV score. All this means is the market value and the realized value. So what the current market value of Bitcoin is in total, and the realized value is what people bought it at. And so the simplicity, just to get to it, is Bitcoin is not overheated. If you look at the score here, to be overheated, it would have to be up here at a 7, and it's down here at a 2.78. So this tells me, I refer to it often, that we have a lot of room left for a run here on Bitcoin, which means we have a lot of room left for a run here on strategy. And of course, let's not forget, you know, historically, during the patterns of past bull runs, we're still in a bull run here, which is great. And some say we will coast into 2026 and Bitcoin will keep going. And then some think that we will hit the traditional bull run and Bitcoin will run up high in November and December, or maybe peak in November and then run back down. So we will see what happens on that as well. So that is interesting news as well, to see that Bitcoin's not overheated for that technical analysis. Again, do your own research on things, but I like to look at data to make some informed decisions. So that's the basic story. If you look at what happens with fueling future profits, we know tomorrow's the Q2 earnings. So they're going to announce a big freaking earnings because of Bitcoin being counted on their balance sheet as an asset at its current market price now. So you're going to see a huge unrealized gain from strategy. And so when you look at upcoming quarters, because of their recent buy, because the buy they just did with Stretch worth $2.5 billion was done in this quarter. So it'll now be reflective in the Q3 earnings. And so if Bitcoin, you know, finishes Q3 at 150,000, the profits for strategy could double at that point from where they are right now. So tomorrow is a big day in terms of them reporting earnings, because we know they have not reported over the last 4 quarters positive earnings because Bitcoin is not counted on their balance sheet as an asset at its current market price. And now with the new accounting rules, it does. So tomorrow's a really big day. And during Saylor's presentation tomorrow, he's going to be talking about Stretch as well in the presentation. And he's going to be talking about their Q2 earnings. So this should be interesting to see tomorrow. So that's the deal, and that's the major news in the market. Their $2.5 billion buy. The Fed report today was not news at all. So you didn't miss anything if you didn't watch it, okay? And so this is how it works. Stretch is, some people are referring to it as a money market fund. The cool thing about this offering Stretch is that it pays out on a monthly basis. It's projected to pay out about 9%, over the year. And it pays out on a monthly basis, which people are liking. And of course, Saylor's goal is to replace the fixed income marketplace, not entirely, but take money in the $300 trillion fixed income marketplace and get portions of that into Strategy's new products. And he keeps coming out with more and more products, which we like, and is very, very good news. So this is the foundation of a Bitcoin powered bank. Let's just call it what it is. They have tons of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. The only reason they're able to create these products is because they have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And it's going to be hard for any company to compete with them because they're so far ahead of the game. So first perpetual preferred stock in the US with monthly dividends, and it could capture massive fixed income markets. So we'll see as it continues to go. And again, the demand was through the roof. In case you missed this earlier, 4 to 5 times oversubscribed. So it was 5x what they thought it was going to be. Instead of 500 mil, 2.5 bill. And it has the potential to reach $100 billion in the future with these offerings. So they're going to keep doing it. As you watch to see what Saylor just talked about on the video that I just played. He's going to continue to buy the top forever. And I think he mentions that in this video, but let's take a look right here.
I laugh, Dave Portnoy complains about buying it at 10 and panic selling it. And then he's like, oh, I bought it at 40. And I hit the wrong button, all these things. And now it's 100,000. And what I've said, and I said this to Tucker Carlson on television, I said, I'm going to be buying the top forever. I mean, here's what I tell you. When Bitcoin's $1 million a coin, I bet you I will probably buy $1 billion of it at $1 million a coin, probably in one day. And when it's 2 million, I will probably be doing it again in one day. And when it's 10 million, I will be doing $1 billion or more in one day, right? And so we're not stopping.
So there you go from Saylor. To my knowledge, it sounds like Stretch is going to be available to retail investors as well. So I don't know when that comes out, but I'll let you know when I hear of it, which is cool as well. So, and I like the bullishness of Ryan in the chat. The world's biggest bull run is folding before our eyes. So I like the enthusiasm. So anyway, it's exciting what's happening. I know we'd like to see, Strategy going straight up and vertical. It was at 454, a week and a half ago, and now it's dropped all the way down to 390-ish. It has a support level at that 392 area, so it bounced off of that. And again, the MNAV super low, but I'm confident and bullish that we'll be back ahead of it again. Just to hear from some other people, let's take a look at some tweets are saying here. Oh, here's an interesting thing to go over. If you just look at their returns, MSTR really still has outperformed most competitors in 2025. So even with the drop and the market going down for MSTR, they're still up about 39% year to date, depending on when you look at their the stock ticker. So let's not forget that over the last year, they're up about 140%. And if you go back and you look at this company, let's not forget 5 years ago, this was a $1 billion company. It's now a $100 billion company. So if you look into the future of the potential for Strategy, the future for this company is huge, and they are way ahead of the curve. And I don't think we are late at all to the game. I think we are ahead of the game. And also just know, if you're freaked out about Strategy going up to 450 and dropping to 390, if you watch the stock throughout 2024, like I did, you would have seen these swings up and down multiple times through 2024. So this is not unnormal. And I expect the swings to be back up again here in the future. And we will see when that happens. Okay. So let's skip through some of this and let's get to it. Okay. So Here's the big buy announcement from Saylor. He announced this a couple days ago, 2.46 billion. I think the thing to note here is that they've achieved a Bitcoin yield of 25% year to date. So when Saylor talked earlier in the year, he said that his goal through 2025 was to hit a 25% Bitcoin yield, and he's already hit a 25% Bitcoin yield. In fact, I think he might have even said a 15% Bitcoin yield, but in any case, he's already hit a 25% Bitcoin yield. And for those of us who own shares, I mean, that's his goal. He's looking to get more Bitcoin per share for the shareholders, and that's the entire game that he's playing. And he's continuing to play it. He continues to do it. He continues to buy, and that's why we like what Saylor's doing. It's a very, very volatile stock. If you're new to this and you haven't been investing in this for a while, it's very, very volatile. I always get educated on these things, not financial advice, but understand Bitcoin first. You know, my whole route of understanding this, because again, remember, I bought my first shares of Strategy in 2020, bought my first Bitcoin in 2018, for several Bitcoin in 2018. And I went heavy into Bitcoin first, and then I went heavy into Strategy, and now I trade Strategy on a daily basis. So I understand the stock very, very well. I understand how it moves as well. I can't predict the future of where it's going to go, but I have a lot of knowledge and familiarity with it. So my recommendation from an educational standpoint, not financial advice, is like the path to really understand this is first to look at traditional finance. And so anytime I explain, you know, Bitcoin to somebody, I don't get into Bitcoin first. I always explain traditional finance first, and I have people understand the problem that they're faced with in traditional finance. Then once I have them understand the problem they're faced with in traditional finance, then I introduce Bitcoin. Then when somebody understands Bitcoin, then I would introduce Strategy. And then only at that point, for people who trade on a daily basis like I do, would I ever consider trading something. I would have to understand it thoroughly first, right? So I think there's just gradient levels of understanding. And if you're totally new to Bitcoin, or you're totally new to Strategy, you know, go take a look and really understand traditional finance. I spent 14, 15 years in that world. So I understand the products, I understand how it moves, I understand the flaws, I understand the bill of goods that they've sold, that 10, 12% rates of return will help somebody retire. 10, 12% rates of return will actually keep people poor. So that's not true at all. So when you can start to understand the old world, then it's a base case for somebody to want to understand the new world. It's kind of just basic marketing and sales. Like, you never get into the solution first unless you highly identify the problem and you like drill in the problem with somebody. So if, you know, I think from an educational standpoint, not financial standpoint or financial advice, but from an educational standpoint, like, we should all be promoting the concepts and understandings of what Bitcoin is, so that more and more people understand it, so more and more people can get free. Because at the end of the day, it's you know, it's an interesting world when you look at traditional finance, which is completely broken from my point of view, and you look at the new Bitcoin world. It's a fascinating thing to introduce people to, where the great majority of the world does not understand Bitcoin. The great majority of the world does not understand Strategy at all, or even know what Strategy is. And then, you know, you take a look at those things, and it's very easy to help people when you go on the right gradient. If here's the problem with traditional finance, here's what Bitcoin is, here's what Strategy is. Make sense? So there you go on that. So I'm bullish about the next 5 or 6 months, and we saw the big buy with Strategy. Jeff Walton also says here, a Bitcoin yield target of 25% for the entire year was achieved in the first 57% of the year. So the year is about half over, and Saylor's blowing past targets, which is cool. Jeff's always got good data. MSTR is now 62.9% of the way to hitting 1 million Bitcoin on their balance sheet. That's pretty huge, guys. Take a look at it. That's huge, right? 1 million Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Incredibly powerful. And Strategy has 74.45 billion in Bitcoin, with a 61.5% all-time gain. So when you look at the health of this company, it's pretty freaking strong. Pretty freaking strong. So that is the weather in the sports. And Trump urged Fed Chair Powell to lower interest rates. Now he keeps urging him, and Powell just does not want to listen, but nobody expected it to happen today anyway. So it wasn't a surprise, and we'll see what happens in September. I think the Fed will lower interest rates sometime this year, but if we zoom out and we look at the positive thing, we look at the M2, the money supply, and we see that Bitcoin is tracking and following the money supply, number one. Number two, we look at the positive. The strategy continues to buy more and more Bitcoin, and they're using all kinds of different financial products to buy Bitcoin. And the fact that they're coming out with new financial products, and the recent financial product that came out with Stretch is just 4 or 5x the demand, meaning the demand was 5x what they expected, and it was much bigger than Stride and Strike and Strife, shows very, very bullish signs for Strategy as a company. And also the Q2 earnings report are coming out. Let's not forget about that. Let's not forget about the S&P 500 inclusion that we'll know about September 5th if they get included in that. At some point, they will definitely get included because they qualify. And as Bitcoin keeps growing and Strategy keeps reporting Q2 earnings and then a profit in Q3 earnings, they're going to get on the S&P 500. The question is what happened now? It would be sweet if it happened in September, because September 5th is about the date we will know. And then you'll start to feel the effects of it in late September, where flows will start coming into Strategy, passive income flows. And we're talking about a big deal of billions and billions of dollars of passive income flows. So when you look at those indicators and you look at the indicators of the fact that Bitcoin is just holding around 117,000, the future looks bright. And I think we got something to be excited about. So I hope you guys are excited. I hope, watching this stock relatively, if you're relatively new to it, it's like a stomach jerker until you just get used to it. And so hopefully you're getting used to it from an educational standpoint, watching the stock, seeing it, to see how it can have 12% swings in a couple of days. But that's also the volatility that we like, because when it goes up, we enjoy when Strategy goes up. And I'm looking forward to some upswings coming up over the next 5 or 6 months and some big gains as well. So I hope this serves you all. And so there's some questions in there. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see what happens tomorrow when they announce it. So anyway, I hope this helps you guys. And yeah, I was just mentioning trading. So Anthony, you have a question about trading. But ultimately, yeah, I trade successfully. Just so you know, I trade every single week, every single day, and I do extremely well with it. And so I enjoy it. I think it's a fun game. For me, it's an easy way to make money, and it's fun. So anyway, if you guys are interested, there's a link down below this video. You can click on it and you can actually join the early access list, because we are coming out with a simple trading platform and an AI platform that's educational content that gives like 90-second, 2-minute updates of what's going on in the markets. And if you're interested, you can get on it. When we come out with the platform, we'll notify you. Okay. So I hope this helps you. I hope you all have a good rest of the day. And let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see what the big Q2 earnings, if we have a run up. It would be nice to see a run up and have a nice run into the weekend. So have a great rest of the day. And thank you for bearing with me on the sound. I am getting this new studio hooked up with the mic and all this crap, moving locations from the East Coast to the West Coast, or West Coast to East Coast, I should say. All right. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll talk to you soon.